Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Chase. Let's talk Bitcoin. We'll talk Ethereum. Big shout out to Prime XBT for sponsoring these videos. That's it. Let's get into it. You know how we do around here. No bullshit. We get right to it. So, Bitcoin. We're just gonna zoom out here first, and we just want to look at some basic things, right? Because it's very easy to get lost in the euphoria of the moment, whatever you want to say, right? A huge uptrend, just monstrous uptrend, huge rounded top, support, right? Support, flips to resistance, as well as the origin of the breakdown. And now we're coming up for the first test of that level. Talked about this many times. Typically on the first test of a level is your best short opportunity. This looks strong so far, but I do think that we reject from here. But as far as a blind short, I mean, it can be done. The stop placement is tough. But what I'm most likely going to do is look for some type of obvious bearish divergence or something into resistance. If you guys know me, that's one of my favorite setups, right? So we have our first test of untested resistance right here, untested supply. This was our supply level. We broke down from it, and this is currently the first true test of it that we're getting right now. So if we push into here, right now we're on the daily, right? Let's say we push into here, okay? We retrace a little bit. We come back up. We do that, right? But really the trade is here, right? So if you do this and you do this, right? Okay, you make a higher high, right here. We've talked about this many times, simple bearish divergence play. And say, your RSI pops a little bit because we go a little higher, comes down a little bit, and does this. Okay. So now we got higher high into resistance / untested supply. Okay, first test of resistance. So many different names you can put around these things, but I try to explain it in the simplest way as possible. Just support and resistance supply, but it's untested, right? Because we never had a retest of this level. We broke down. If you had a retest of that level, you imagine you would reject. Now we had this very long consolidation, so that's why I'm more weary about shorting this right away. If we happen to break down and we just came back up right here, it's an obvious blind short. But all this consolidation makes me think, makes me have a second thought here that I don't want to blindly do this, because it's possible that we take out, this high. I don't necessarily know if that's what's going to happen, but if that does happen, that's an opportunity, right? You would take the stops above the high, you would take the stops above 50K, and this could be a rally that looks very strong, super euphoric and whatnot, but turns out to be an amazing short. Okay, so ultimately, I do believe we reject from this area. It's probably not a common. It's probably not a common thought process right now that we're going to reject from here. I think most of what I'm seeing, at least, but bullish, quote unquote, is more fun, right? So when things are bullish, everyone's having a good time. I don't blame people for, getting sort of lost in the euphoria of the moment. But it doesn't mean that we can't look at what's, the level that we're approaching here. I've had this level marked out since months ago. This is the major level, okay? Now, if we break through here, right? So that's the ultimate play that I'm looking for right there. That bearish divergence short. Okay, maybe we take this high, maybe we don't. But that bearish divergence short, you can put your stop just somewhere into the void, right? Because if we go up and say we reject and we push above, right? And you get you sort of have that bear div thing going on, right? But you don't get a follow-up. And all of a sudden you start reclaiming. Well, if it looks like we're flipping this area to support, right? And what do I mean by that? You come up and then you usually do something like this. You usually go up above and then you retest and then you go. Okay, so I'd be watching for that as well for a long play. So much of this stuff is in the moment that it's often difficult to explain exactly what I'm going to look for. But ultimately, if you're not risking too much, right, and you're a newcomer to the game and you're sort of confused and what do I look for with this, that, and you just really don't have the experience to make the judgment call, you could just simply go with what most likely makes sense. And what most likely makes sense here is simply a short. And if you do just play your risk properly, right? So, and I have previous videos about risk management and all that, but if you were just going to short like the dead center of this block, right, and you were going to target 40K, you could get a 2.69 risk reward, which is right in the range of what we want. We typically want between a 2 and a 3 risk reward. Optimal. Great. Okay, we take those. So this is doable. Just make sure that your risk amount is appropriate. Okay, if you have $100,000 and you're risking $20,000 on this trade, you're doing something very wrong. Okay, you're a degenerate. If you got $100,000 and you don't have a lot of experience, you should be risking $500, maybe $1,000 on this trade. And because you got to give yourself time to learn and time for that experience to build. It's super easy for me to come on here and say, oh yeah, if there's a bear div, then we're gonna short it. If it flips to support, we're gonna long it. Okay, it's really easy for me to say that, but unfortunately, unless I'm able to call the trades live on CT, I can't really give you too much more detail because no one's a magician and knows exactly what's gonna happen in here. We could chop for a bit. We could do the bear div thing. We could just break through, flip to support, and go. We could plow through. Like, there's no one who can actually say exactly what's going to happen. Maybe we don't even get a bear div. Maybe we just reject. But once you have a lot of experience and time on the chart, you're going to be able to do a lot better and make those calls better. But if you're unable to do that for now, simply take the trade that you believe makes the most sense and use proper risk management, and that's going to help you out a lot, okay? Don't put yourself in any position where you're nervous about the trade or anything, because those are always going to go bad. Outside of that, if we do reject, this area is definitely a buy. We watch for this, okay? We can see resistance, origin of breakout, resistance, 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 resistance here, deviation, support. This area all in here is where we're going to be looking to buy if it happens to come down. And then once again, we're aiming for red would be TP1. This is TP2. Okay, simple as that. And let's move on to Ethereum. Now with Ethereum, I have somewhat of a similar viewpoint here, is that we're at the level of major resistance, right? Once again, everyone's extremely euphoric, but we are at resistance nonetheless. Untested resistance nonetheless. What I'm looking for on ETH would be if there's any type of major retracement, sweep this low into previous demand here, untested demand, right? So I could leave some blind bids in here most likely because this is untested demand. It was never retested. Origin of impulse, bounced out of here, right? Big push from out of here, never retested the level. Got bought up here, got bought up here, got bought up here. If we sweeped all this, and we got an entry from here, man, I would love that entry all the way to at least 3,400, okay? This is TP1, and then you could look towards the next block right around here, 3815, TP2, okay? So ultimately for ETH, that's what I'm watching right there. On ETH short-wise, I don't know. And I've talked about this before too. It's often about your portfolio and how comfortable you are in the market, where your exposure's at, right? And, if you watched all my old videos, and old tweets and stuff, I called it all live. Most of my exposure that I left from ETH was all sold in between here and here. So I'm not in a big rush to get short. I sold what I wanted to sell. Unfortunately, I did not make any buybacks. I'm not going to, be lying to anyone or anything like that. I was waiting for a little bit lower. I was waiting for around 1,500. Never got it. Hey, shit happens, right? That's the way the markets are. You're not always going to get what you want. But you got to work to adapt and sort of see what the next opportunity is. If we do break this area, flip this area to support, I mean, I'm looking for strictly longs, basically. Okay, same as Bitcoin. If we happen to flip Bitcoin, if we flip this area to support, right? If we flip this area to support, I'm looking for longs, straight to 57, 56 area. Okay? Same with ETH. Flip this area, I'm looking towards 38. Come down, looking to buy here. Overall, I am bullish, to check my own bias here. Even though a majority of my sells are from higher, and I didn't really buy back much, still bullish, and will just simply be, looking for long positions if we break through these major resistance levels. But until we break through major resistance, there's not really much for me to be longing. I'm not going to long directly into resistance. There was a huge long here, okay? There was a huge long here, and there was a huge long here. If anything, this is where people should be taking profit. And if the market does flip these levels, can get bullish again. But I'm not going to be longing into these levels. I see them as resistance, and I do expect an eventual rejection. And if the market's just too overall bullish, then I'm happy to let it prove that to me, and I just get in when I can. If it plows right through to 58, then so be it. But typically, you'll get something like this. You'll get some type of consolidation. You'll get a quick blow off, and then you go. Okay, not necessarily a full-on retest, right? But you know how it works with the pumps, right? If you get a big pump, it spikes, it comes down, it consolidates, like equal lows the whole time, and it starts to go. Like you can typically get in here, right? You can get in there, or you can just simply buy this, stop below the origin of impulse, and you get like a 1.5 R usually out of it, or a 2 R out of it. Not terrible, maybe even an equal risk reward, but that's the scenario that's there. You have to work with what's provided to you and accept it, because if you're going to try to maneuver your way around and something that doesn't exist, an opportunity that's not there for you, what are you really going to do? All right, so covered Bitcoin, covered Ethereum. As always, shout out to Prime. Is there anything we want to talk about this week? Not much. I guess we'll just do a general discussion. It's not really going to be crypto related. I don't really have much to say. The whole NFTs thing is sort of taking this space by storm. How long does it last? I don't know. I know that it won't be as strong as it is now forever. I can certainly tell you that. Trends come and go. But outside of that, just general things. A lot of people with, newfound wealth, good for them. Maybe a little overly flashy lately, as far as I could see. A lot of bragging going on. Sometimes does correlate with tops, but overall the technicals are still telling me bull. So while I do think we may get a retracement here, it's not like I'm terribly worried about a major retracement. Although, if you do lose 40, if you do lose this whole area and you come back into here, not good. But yeah, it would be nice to see people a little more humble. Honestly, the crypto space is just blowing up so big that, you're getting a lot of different characters and, people joining the space. And, that's good, mainstream attention. But at the same time, I definitely feel like there is a little loss of that old community, mutual respect, somewhat staying humble, right? I think it was normal to brag about, hitting a 50x or hitting a 100x or something, but when the 50x turned into, I turned 300 into 200,000 in 2 days, like, look at me, like, I don't know, it doesn't really do it for me. I feel like there's still a lot of people struggling out there, and a lot of people are making the concept of money seem much easier than it is, and that puts people into bad situations where they feel like they need to risk more. You should never compare yourself to others, but it's going to happen naturally, and I guess it's not the person's, the bragging person's fault, but at the same time, if you, somewhat of a responsibility to your community, to not show a fake reality. Like, okay, you got lucky. You bought a picture a couple of months ago, for $300, and you sold it for $400,000. Like, cool, you got lucky. That's all it really is, because there was a bunch of different things you could have bought. These things are not, something like this NFT thing that's going on is a lot of people talk about like laundering and stuff, but some of it has to be organic to generate this much interest. There had to be so many different pieces that organically came together. And, for anyone to think, I feel like that they, bought something a couple months ago, said, oh, I know for sure that this piece is going to be, worth a ton. I don't know. It just seems a little unrealistic to me. I feel like, if you have someone with a consistent track record when it comes to stocks or crypto coins or something like that, it's a bit more. But, if all of a sudden your squiggly on a piece of paper is worth a couple $100,000, I don't know. I just think you got lucky. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But personal opinion. But then, on top of it, I don't think the whole bragging in front of everybody is necessary. I don't know. I don't know. Did I go through that phase? Maybe. I think there's a difference, right? There's a difference between posting, that you got out of debt and you helped your family and whatnot, rather than constantly posting, watches and cars and stuff. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's just, for me, I just see it as, and like I've said in the past, I'm comfortable. I don't really have to work at the moment. I choose to continue to do the videos and stuff because I like talking to the community. I choose to try to continue to trade because I enjoy trading, especially when I'm in the zone. If I'm not in the zone, quote unquote, then there are times where I've thought like, I don't think of myself as like a super top tier trader. I do think I'm good. I do think I'm very capable, but I don't think of myself as like someone who's, pulling some type of a 70-80% win rate, something crazy like that, and can turn $500 accounts into $1 million accounts every year. Like, no, I don't think that. I think I'm good, very good with risk management, and I'm very sustainable, and I'm very good at getting into the trades I want to be and not letting them affect my life, and not being nervous about them, and letting things typically go close to my target, usually within 80 to 90%. I'm happy to cut a little bit early. I guess ultimately the point is just, it's easy to make it look easy, and a lot of people choose to make it look easy, and that sets a bad example for everyone else who hasn't, quote unquote, made it yet, or isn't comfortable with their life or anything, and they only got 20K to their name, and they put 15K into a picture, and then a month later, there ain't even any liquidity for anyone to sell it to because the fad is gone, the trend is gone. So, but it's the same thing with trading. You show someone $1 million day, all of a sudden they're gonna up their size, try to make themselves sort of feel better about what they're doing. I guess it's just community responsibility. I'm sure some will disagree, but I would prefer the space if it was a tad bit more humble. Is what it is. Okay, well, as always, guys, thanks for chatting along with me, hanging out. Hopefully the Bitcoin and Ethereum setups and overall views make sense. I'm glad we could talk a little bit about crypto, NFTs, just the space in general, and that's it. Okay, big shout out to Prime XBT. Thank you for sponsoring these videos. Check out my links at the bottom. All right, talk to you guys next week. Peace out.